You're looking at is already sanded 5/4 deck boards. Some are 12 feet long, some are 8 feet long, and some are even shorter than that. These are deck boards that I already had left over after I built the actual deck. So on the front side of the cabinet, I'm going to need 7 feet and a couple of inches. And then on the side, it's going to be something in the 18-inch realm. If you look under those deck boards right here on this edge and right there down, you'll see the 8/4 top that I have. And it's upside down right now. I've already sanded that. I sanded the bottom to 100 grit and the top to 220. Flipped it so that I could put the stuff on there. I'm not going to stain that. I'm just going to use shellac, de-waxed shellac to seal it, and then I'm going to urethane the heck out of it. Over here is what I started with, the deck boards. Okay, I'm still sanding, so I'm going to document that and show you what I'm doing. I'm using a belt sander and a random orbital sander. This is what this stuff looked like to start with. This is what it looks like after I get it finished. This is pressure treated stuff, but I can still stain it, and it's been sitting out there for quite a while in the weather, stacked up in my boneyard, which is where I keep all my scrap wood. That's just yard type wood. It's pressure treated stuff, not cabinet grade or anything like that. So I'm going to go to work getting that stuff done, and then we'll check back in a little bit. The random orbital sander that I'm using is a Milwaukee. You may or may not like Milwaukee. Don't remember what I paid for it. I've had it for a few years. It's got an adjustable speed on it. It's been a really good random orbital sander, and I like it a lot. I'm currently using 80 grit on there. That's to do the edges of these boards, and then around the bevel actually. Now the belt sander I'm using, I haven't had it very long, so I can tell you I paid 89 bucks for it at Harbor Freight. It is a Bauer. It also has an adjustable speed on it, and it's currently set on 3 because when I was running it the other day, I was running it on 6, which is the max, but it started acting kind of weird. I mean, you get what you pay for, right? And I don't use a belt sander that much. The last one that I had was a 3x21, and it burned up after. Roosters are just having a good time out there. Yeah, I just burned it up. It was old, and I just burned it up. It was a 3x21. It was a cheapo I got from either Lowe's or Home Depot. This is a 4x24, so it's kind of heavy. But it's done a good job so far on these other boards. So I'm using 80 grit on it, and it's doing the job. I do have some 50 grit, and when I put it on there, it'll do the job too, but it really wants to skip on me because this table, I'm makeshift little piece of plywood here on a couple of sawhorses. It just wants to, it's really aggressive. And if I was doing cabinet work or something with some fine hardwood or whatever, I probably wouldn't be using a belt sander at all. But this is outdoor stuff, and a belt sander, you got to keep it moving, or it's going to really dig in and take some stuff off. So that's just one piece of advice on using a belt sander if you're not all that familiar with it. But for 89 bucks, I didn't figure I could go wrong, even though I only use it maybe a couple of times a year. It'll pay for itself in, a year for 89 bucks. The belts, they do sell the belts there at Harbor Freight for it too. And they sell it in 3 different grits. They sell a 50, an 80, and a 120 in the 4x24 belts. So that's what I went with. Okay, switching over to a 50 grit. I got some real deep gashes in this first board here that I'm going to do. So we're going to try a little bit more aggressive. So what I did here was I went 50 grit on both faces, left pretty rough surface. I came back, switched the belt, went to 80 grit on both surfaces, smoothed it up a whole lot. Then I took the random orbital sander and I got the bevels here and then the tops here. Now I was at one point worried about these being drop dead perfect, but these are going to be sitting on top of each other in a horizontal fashion, so you're really not going to see that. However, I'm going to stain it, and you're not going to see much past the bevel. So I'm not as sweating that like I was originally. This one's a lot closer. Yeah, you can still see some marks in there, some saw marks in there. But again, it's on the flat, so I'm not really dying for it to be drop dead perfect because you're not going to see it. So now I'll move on to this next piece. I've only got a couple more of these pieces to do because I think I have enough to get 12 pieces each. I'm going to need 6 pieces for each of the short sides. So I think I have enough or more than enough to get the 12 pieces out. So I just take these and wipe them off really good. Yeah, they got some dirt and they were sitting out a little bit, so they are going to have some dirt on them. That's why, one of the reasons why I'm using the belt sander, to try to get them where they need to be without scrubbing them and then waiting for them to dry all over again and all that other stuff. I am going to have to change the belt because there was a lot of sap on the other side of that piece, or whatever it is, and you can see how it gummed up the belt. So it's not going to sand even. So what I'm going to need to do is change the belt out to a one that's not totally wore out. Okay, I think I have more than enough to get my 12 pieces. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to verify the measurement on the 2 end pieces, which is where all these short pieces are coming into play. And I'm going to verify that measurement, and then I'm going to cut them on my chop saw. And then once those are verified, I can start I'm going to start staining all of it. Again, the top won't get stained, but all the rest of it will. And then I'll put a couple of coats maybe of urethane on this, and I'm gonna attach it. I have not made up my mind whether I'm gonna attach these with black screws. It's a dark stain, it's a mahogany stain, so the black screws may be just fine. Or whether I'm gonna use finishing nails or something like that. But my goal is for it to stay, so I may just default and use the screws. I mean, I'm not trying to build a legit kitchen cabinet here. It's going to be rustic, it's outdoor, so I'll do a test and see what's going to look good, and then that's what I'll end up going with.